Oh, hey, yo, it's Dominic D'Angelo. It's a Wednesday, and it's Rumor and Innuendo. I'm with Mr. Robert Karplis, WE Creative _ ish. Robert, happy Wednesday to you. Are you excited after what was an exciting Wednesday?
If I don't answer, you can't play the song.
That's not a rule, technically.
That's the rule.
Who makes the rules around here?
Show me the stone.
Good to see you, Robert. How's everything been?
Nice to see you, but nice of you to show up for work today. Since yesterday, you're like, I'm done with these people. That's what he texted me. He's going to give you a rigmarole. I had family obligations. He goes, I don't want to see any of these people. I'm sick of them all. I'm done with you, Jay Brones. But here we are anyway. We finally coaxed it back. And let's say hi to some of those folks in the chat. Juana Bria says, hello, R&I. With no show yesterday, I couldn't get that excited. Oh, well.
Sorry.
Okay, you went with this question. I was going to skip it, but you go ahead and read it, Tom.
I just put it up. I didn't even read it. What's up? Outside the ring, what's one smell that instantly teleports you back to a specific moment in your life? And what moment is it? Triple E asks this, Robert. If I smell incense, I think of going to church. How's that sound?
If I smell a rotisserie chicken, I think being a cashier at Publix.
There you go.
Not a great smell. Cammy Star says, after morning, glad to see Dom made time for us today.
Oh man,
Cammy knows the truth. Mikey Ward says, woo, LFG, which I'm guessing is some kind of airport code because we don't use that kind of language here otherwise.
No, not at all. We're clean. We're a clean show here. Dre Owen says, hello, R&I. Robert, Ace Austin will be on Collision this week.
Let's go. Let's get the playing cards ready for them to be charged up and thrown at Sentinels.
Yeah, that's right. Hell yeah. Some kinetic energy going on Collision, huh?
And guys, speaking of kinetic, no, I didn't even look if that was. Oh, it was teed up. Damn it! I should have done it. I messed up. That's on me. I didn't even read the gimmick. I literally signed on as the countdown was going. So all I know is that Kenny is number one with a bullet.
That's it. Number one with a bullet, indeed. Let's address this real quick. Wrestling World says, good after morning, all. RIP to Daniel Moody. If you're not aware of who Daniel Moody is, that is Paul Bear's, I think, last son. It was everybody in his immediate family has passed away. Very, very sad situation there.
That is incredibly sad. I didn't see that news, so thanks for bringing that to us. Paul Bear was the first wrestling personality type I had ever met. I was at a house show, and it was great. It was great because it's down here. It was in West Palm Beach, and it was in this WWE house show at a point in time where it didn't have all the big rigmarole. And he was walking in like shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, and he hadn't put the black stuff in his hair. And it was very strange to see. And as soon as he recognized that it was kids, he recognized immediately turned into Paul Bear.
Did it? Oh, that's
it was
great.
The best. Bear was just an all-timer, and that's just really sad news to see here. But we're gonna talk some happier things here. We're gonna talk AEW Dynamite.
Yes. Were you happy after AEW Dynamite, Robert?
I was a little confused.
Mm-hmm.
In that I had to look and see how quickly the next pay-per-view is, and it's coming up because they were not messing around. I feel like we got about 3 weeks of programming in one show for that main title picture.
Absolutely. And not only that, they started off the show with that match, Swerve Strickland taking on Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega gets the W. He's the number one contender. Swerve is not an EVP. That's maybe we might have speculated here, which is very confusing. But yes, wasn't that blown away by the match, to be honest, Robert? What did you think?
Match was good. I think what I was kind of expecting the entire time was, well, there's no way they're just going to give away Kenny versus Swerve in an opening match without some kind of shenanigans or chicanery. They've been building Swerve up as the most dangerous man in AEW. You're setting this guy up as an absolute killer. It felt like since Darby is also kind of the number one contender for MJF's title, that this was a chance to have Swerve potentially win the EVP option and be number one contender, holding all the power, and then possibly getting to some kind of unique match going forward. Instead, Kenny just beats him clean.
Yeah, yeah, just beat him straight up, and it. I don't know. I leading the show off with this, I was like, well, that's kind of surprising. I mean, like the graphics all different on online in comparison to all the other Dynamite ones, and you'd think that this would close out the show. When I thought about it, they had their highest ratings on Dynamite, I think, in over a year last week. So maybe they just wanted to come in hot and make sure that they kind of had a good fan base going, starting this thing off. Did you think that strategically makes sense?
I think, they're trying different things, and we're gonna close with this because they needed 2 more segments in this show. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I felt like this was a truncated time frame.
Yeah.
So the idea is, yeah, let's get to whatever it is that we're going to get to. Devin Dowling says it was kind of obvious Kenny was winning. They wouldn't do Swerve versus MJF in a pay-per-view main event. They wouldn't. However, given that the EVP title was on the line, there is a possibility that Swerve could have used his powers to force the match to be sooner, or say, I'm going to, as EVP, I'm going to delay my number one contendership until whenever I please. And then the next match could have been Darby versus Max at the pay-per-view. Do a short-term match with those guys where maybe you have the Don Callis family interfering, and then something that winds up ultimately bringing back, in theory, I guess, Hangman.
Yeah.
But instead, we got the match. They beat Swerve clean. Tony has less of a fear of beating his guys clean than I do. I think it's a fundamental misalignment that I sort of have in terms of, if you're going to establish guys with the audience, you shouldn't feel that comfortable just letting him get pinned.
Right.
Certain heels, yes, but it feels like Swerve was being moved into kind of a 1A position. And the fact that Swerve beat Brody King clean on your pay-per-view, and then he loses to Kenny here, I don't know. I also think maybe I'm being cruel. Swerve probably has longer longevity with AEW than Kenny.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're thinking from that perspective, yes, I mean, for sure, right? Because like you just think about what Kenny's been through and everything. Yeah.
Well, someone who had been through it was Will By God Ospreay, and I thought his pre-tape promo was excellent.
Did you? I didn't like it, Robert.
Why do you hate children?
I hate the trope that so many of AEW has done, and WWE has done it too. They've been guilty of it too. Is the crux of the feud is not these two people not liking each other necessarily. It's more so, oh, my family. And you always bring up the family aspect, and then you bring up injury aspect. Those are two crutches I think AEW leans too much on. So when you do a family angle, it feels less than. And on top of it too, I'm here to see two guys or gals duke it out, fight over something. I don't want to know all this personal life stuff. Only if you make it mean something special, and they just use it all the time. And I mean, like, I think if you gave Will something a little bit more tangible to talk about when it comes to the Death Riders, and I don't know, give some more incentive where it's more about the faction and what you're doing in the ring rather than your past and the injuries that you're going through and the family stuff. Because I think it's way too much that they do this all the time in AEW.
They do it a lot. I think Ospreay sold it really well, and I think maybe it's just being a softie as a dad, and that notion of, yeah, I'm home with my kid, but I don't need my kid to see me in this shape that I was in. And you did this to me in front of my family. You did this in front of my parents, and then my kid had to watch me suffer every single day. That's the motivation I need to go and rip your head off.
It makes sense. Don't get me wrong. I just think they do it a lot.
They do it a lot. But don't worry. Something they don't do a lot is random 6-man tags. And what was the next match?
Oh, it was a random 6-man tag, Robert.
Get out of Dodge.
No, can you believe it? Yes, we had. Oh my God! Wait, I lost.
It was Top Flight and Death Riders versus Top Flight and Zeta Steel. Is that her name?
Zeta Steel.
Yes, I just wrote Zeta. I realized I didn't write the full name. This was fine. It was a way to get to a Moxley promo. Crowd seemed to be into it. It killed some time. Top Flight are really good. I wish that they would use them more. And, Zeta Steele seemed over with that crowd.
Yeah, she is for sure. I've seen her work before, and she was a WID prospect for a little bit, and then she left the program. And so, kind of nice to see her on another prominent promotion. I will say too, tying this a little bit back into the Osprey and what he had to say. Osprey did mention Pac earlier on in that promo, and then you get this this match with the Death Riders and Top Flight. Both Pac and Top Flight feel kind of like cannon fodder. That's another trope that AEW kind of goes to. And I just kept thinking about that. Okay, they're just going to plow through Pac with Osprey. And hey, Death Riders are plowing through Top Flight. Two notable kind of AEW established teams and solo wrestler, and you're just kind of throwing it away. It's another frustrating.
Fine, I'll do it since you keep one of it. Speaking of plowing through,
hey
guys, you know what time it is. It's time to level up, and Blue Chew just dropped something crazy. I'm talking next level championship belt gold plated energy. Blue Chew Gold is the newest innovation from the #1 chewable ED brand. This ain't your grandpa's little blue pill. This is the 4-in-1 beast incarnate that's setting the gold standard for performance. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with code RUMOR. That's promo code RUMOR. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo. And speaking of rock solid, we got Rocky Romero versus Speedball Mike Bailey, and my finger was rock solid pressed on the fast forward button.
Well, Bailey did get the win. Yeah, just kind of I mean, obviously Bailey's super talented and great in the offensive maneuvers and all that stuff, but yeah, it's just it kind of feels like, okay, we know what's going to happen here. Here we go. It's a little bit of time filler on the show. We see Mike Bailey later on. We can talk about that when it happens.
We then got an MJF promo that started off super generic, and then it just kind of stayed super generic. And I obviously I love Max. This was like AI generated MJF Kenny Omega promo. Well, if you're the god of wrestling, I'm the devil of wrestling. And I finally realized what Kenny Omega now sounds like. Have you seen Project Hail Mary?
No, it's getting a lot of good buzz.
He's Ryan Gosling in Project Hail Mary, the way he talks. This weird disconnected indifference in the way it's like confused indifference. I can't stand it. I wish Max would have just eaten this guy's lunch on the mic, but I get it. We got to sell the show. So the story is Max beat Kenny before on a match they gave away on free TV. But that time he was only at 60 to 80% capacity. Now he's at almost 100% capacity.
I didn't think the promo was too bad. I kind of like the exchange and the dynamic between the two. And it kind of like, yes, kind of boilerplate for sure. Kind of gives a little bit more that MJF can go off of later on when it comes to getting, in confrontation with Kenny a little bit. Did MJF get his attire inspiration from Wayne Newton or Tom Jones?
I mean, Wayne Newton is an all-timer, star of the Great Vegas Vacation. Yes. Tom Jones is in Mars Attacks.
He is.
And thanks to Dana Carvey, we know that he has a prodigious quivering member, to quote 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh, my goodness. Heavens to Betsy. That's another Blue Chew segue. You want to go into it again?
We're not. I wasn't prepared for a Tom Jones reference here. But speaking of things that were long and flaccid, we got an FTR promo.
Ooh, yes. And a Cope and Cage promo as well. You didn't see that?
Cage? No.
Oh, okay. Excalibur said Renee Paquette sits down with Cope and Cage, and they were standing backstage.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I don't know if you're aware of this, but these guys go way back. And that Cash slept on Cope's couch.
Yes. He dropped a deuce in his toilet. I think he said that in there, too.
I could care less. Speaking of not caring any less, Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong took on the Dogs.
The Dirty Dog.
We've now seen the Dogs lose to the conglomeration multiple times, and now they get the win?
Now they get the win.
Instead it's Clark, don't call me Chuck Connors, and the non-NXT Finley.
Oh man! Well, I tell you what, that's how AEW treated David, was like that, because he makes this big debut in a way and helps out and like stands over Darby, and now he's just tag team guy. Tag team.
He's just a tag team guy. Didn't have anywhere to go with that.
Did you have anywhere to go with Thekla versus Mina Shirakawa, AEW Women's World Championship?
Well, first there was a Kyle Fletcher promo where the notion here is that Fletcher wants to take on MJF and that him and Takeshita are the bestest of friends.
Ooh, best buddies.
What you can hear are the cockles of my heart being warmed. The cockles of my heart were not warmed by Thekla and Mina Shirakawa. This was fine. It just felt a little strange to give this one away without any real build.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, like, if you're gonna have Mina get the win last week and then, why have it this week again? You could tell a little bit of a story here, considering Toni Storm seems to be out for a very, very long time apparently. So
now, did you see the report about Ronda Rousey?
Yes, it's a one and done.
So what, like, what this felt like? Remember when Hogan showed up in TNA and attacked Jeff Jarrett in Japan, and then there was never a payoff?
No, I don't remember that, but
it's worth throwing in the old Google machine. A nice demand promo, by the way. Good to see Ricochet back on TV.
His voice sounded deeper. Didn't it sound deeper to you?
It did. There's multiple octaves below.
Yes.
And then your main event, Roosh versus Darby Allin, for reasons. And this was in a Falls Count Anywhere match for reasons. And Darby beat him with a small package. Actually, he beat him with most kids' favorite lunch snack, the fluke roll-up.
Ooh,
kids do love a good fluke roll-up.
Do they still make those, Robert?
No idea. I never did those. Never was a fluke roll-up. I was never a gummy guy.
Oh,
like
never
gummy bears, any of that nonsense wasn't going to be my thing. So Roosh loses, and then Mark Davis, in a match that was a no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match, they wait till after the match is over for the vicious attack, and then Andrade, who's still dressed like on the Ninja Turtles when Michelangelo would try to dress like a human, and he would wear the trench coat and the hat.
You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of the Wild Wild West with Kevin Kline and Will Smith.
We need that giant spider. The giant spider from the Never Made Superman Lives. That Kevin Smith story, that's still an all-timer.
Wait, fill me in on that one.
You got to. That's a whole. There's a whole thing. It was from An Evening with Kevin Smith. Kids, back in the good old days, before the world of podcasting, where everybody of note had a podcast. Kevin Smith would do like this lecture circuit at colleges, and he filmed them. And they released it as a DVD set called An Evening with Kevin Smith. And in it, he tells the story of getting hired to work on Superman Lives and how insane the process was. And part of the reveal in it is that this guy who was one of the producers kept insisting that the movie needs a giant spider.
What?
He's like, what? Like Superman has a rogue. Why is it a giant spider? Spiders are the most feared predator in the world, like in nature, and we need a giant spider. And he's like, no, this seems dumb. And then when that movie didn't get made, that producer went on to make Wild Wild West. And what's the villain in the main event?
Are you serious?
Giant spider.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Any other news and notes to talk about here now that we have wrapped up the Dynamite? That's John Peters. Thank you. John Peters, who was a hairdresser and then became romantically entangled with Barbra Streisand.
Oh, wow.
And helped produce one of her albums and a couple of her films. And then John Peters got the rights to Batman. And there's a whole litany of where the problem. I just realized you're wearing the Batman headband. The reason why Batman 89 is not a good movie, any reason why it's not a good movie, is because of John Peters. He invented stupid things the last minute, like the chapel finish.
Oh, I love all that.
There's videos, there's things you can watch. And then Wrestling All Head says, dang it, Robert, I used to love those Kevin Smith talks, and now it reminds me of Dinner for Five was great. Did you ever watch Dinner for Five?
No,
on IFC? It was Jon Favreau. Before Jon Favreau was, Iron Man Jon Favreau, this was dude who made the all-timer Swingers wrote, didn't direct, and then wrote and directed Made, which is underrated classic.
Made's pretty good.
And then we just sit around with other young at the time filmmakers, and people, and they would just sit and have dinner and talk wrestling. And we ripped off that format in WWE for the Legends of Wrestling.
Yeah, which was great. That was a great show.
Except instead of giving them food, we just gave them alcohol.
Oh
yeah, gave them coffee, which still has one of my all-time favorite. I have it on DVD somewhere. We didn't want Vince to know that we were getting the Legends liquored up.
Okay.
And it was Dusty, Jim Ross, Mike Graham for reasons, Pat Patterson, Michael P.S. Hayes. And we put coffee cups in front of all of them that we were then filling with their drinks of choice. So if on the off chance Vince or Kevin Dunn would see what we were filming, it looks like they're drinking coffee. This is actually coffee, by the way. And at one point, one of the PAs refills Patterson's cup, and he takes a sip and goes, "What the hell is this? This is coffee!"
Damn it, Pat.
I love Pat. I had to wake Pat up once at a something to wrestle with event that was down here. He was the backstage surprise guest. He nodded off in a chair.
Were you at was it Starcast 1 where they had the roast of Bruce Pritchard? Were you there?
I was not at the roast of Bruce Pritchard. Mike and Dan and Scott all were. I was not.
There too. I was there.
I was not with the dudes at that point in time.
Wow.
Well, and I wouldn't have a single bad thing to say about my friend Bruce Pritchard, whom I have worked with in 2 separate companies, one of which we can still talk about.
Hey.
Actually 3 technically, since he's part of our network and gave us the name for the show.
Right? I didn't know he gave us the name.
Yeah, well, that was amazing. I checked with Conrad. I'm like, he's like, so what you want to call the show? I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if we called the Daily Show Rumor and Innuendo? I love it. And then Bruce is like, who are these idiots that are using our name? Love you, Bruce. Love you every day. Was there any other news, or are we good to go?
Oh, yes. Hey, yesterday, so WWE announced that Sid Vicious will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
We did talk about that.
And lo and behold, we have another one. Bad News Brown is getting
Get the hell out of here. Really?
Yes.
That's fantastic. I'm a big fit. So Bad News Brown. I talked about Sid. By the way, this is totally, I didn't know this is happening. So this is tremendous. When I used to have to QC old wrestling footage at WWE, everyone in the company, you all got to grab tapes and watch, because there were so many hours. We would have to put 40 hours of content a month up on 24/7. So everybody, if you had time, you'd have to grab a master recording tape, pop it in, watch it to make sure there weren't audio hits or video hits, or we didn't accidentally leave in a WWF or a music, whatever it was. So you have to sit and watch. And some of these shows would be great. Some of them would be like Boston Garden 1988 with Rod Trongard and the Duke of Dorchester on commentary with Mike McGurk. And you're like, this is brutal. It's Moondog Spot versus Jose Luis Rivera in a 26-minute armbar classic. And you'd be sitting through this and you'd just be counting the minutes until you die. And then out comes Bad News. And Bad News, even on these house shows, even if it was the Philly Spectrum or, the Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens, whatever it was, he brought it. And he was Steve Austin before Steve Austin in these matches. He was genuinely just vicious and cruel and mean, and it was a blast. And he's one of those dudes who famously told Vince where he could stick it and got written out of history.
Yeah.
And now he's getting his due. You know who was one of the closest to Bad News?
Bret Hart?
Don Callis.
Really? Oh,
Don Callis was a big Bad News guy. He used to drive around with them a lot. And he always had, so Don had a podcast with Lance Storm called Killing the Town.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have to fill in sometimes if Don was busy, because Don had a shoot job. He was working as something in international business when he had stepped away from wrestling. And sometimes he would be busy, and I was working at the Panthers, and if there wasn't a game and Lance was like, hey, can you jump on Ordonez? I'm like, sure. So I was, the first member of the Don Callis family.
Wow. Yes, you
I'm
were.
kidding.
Wow.
I'm no Hechicero. But no, I'm super excited that Bad News. I'm sure Bad News is due to probably influence Hunter, and it's a good way to signal that yeah, Vince ain't here around.
And who do you think's going to induct him? I mean, I immediately kind of thought Bret Hart just because of the history in Stampede, and then what they did a little, how Bad News helped him in WWE, like kind of get on the map a little bit into the singles picture.
It could be Bret, but I don't know after Bret's lack of a handshake to Hunter, if how
True.
that'll work. Also, I don't know if he's going in outright or it's another legacy one where they're just going to play a video package.
Well, they did mention legacy in the induction.
They did the same thing for Sid. I don't know. I'm curious to see what it's going to be. And then, it's who's going to be standing on that stage at WrestleMania for the crowd. But Demolition, Bad News, Psycho Sid. I'm not convinced Mike Lawrence isn't booking this Hall of Fame.
Maybe he'll write with the Tony Hinchcliffe Bros coming up, because guess what, Robert? That's going to be on Netflix.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's done.
It will be. So the actual event will go on April 18th, so WrestleMania weekend. They will air it April 20th. So they will have some editing, I'm sure, to do if they decide to go all out in their roasting. But we'll have to see on that one, Robert.
That sounds like a terrible, terrible situation. But there's nothing bad to say about this year's WrestleMania. So there's nothing to roast. Best of all time.
Oh, greatest.
Well, what's the greatest is getting to do this show every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern when he shows up on a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative _ISH X account, the at Dominic D'Angelo X account, the at SE Scoops X account, and on YouTube on Podcast Heat and Studio One Sports. So on behalf of the man who is the giant spider in everybody's life, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpolis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Michael Keaton's Batman, and I am Batman.
Shh.